The iPhone 16e is an excellent phone for certain people, and I've been using it for over a week now. I also brought it out of the country to capture my moments with the camera, so doing the touristy stuff. And throughout that time, I know that this is not a phone for me, but I think it would benefit the elderly people and parents getting their kids their first iPhone. But for the rest of us, like the ones in between, I think we have all experienced the regular iPhone or the Pro version, which I think most of us are still using, so it doesn't make sense for us to look into the 16e. Now, going back to the experience, everything feels almost the same as the flagship phones except for one major thing, the camera. When you're used to having an ultra wide or telephoto, it's hard to go back to a single lens setup, which is nice to have options when you're in tight spaces or large areas like concerts. But nonetheless, the iPhone 16e can still take great images. Now remember to put your perspective into the elderly or a young kid. When they're using the camera, they just want to capture the moment. The digital zoom is good enough for most situations, so I don't think quality would be the main concern. I think it's more about taking that picture to show their friends or their family. Again, people like my parents or middle school kids most likely don't prioritize the camera quality unless they are into photography. So taking a step back and using it like how my parents would, I had no problems walking around Singapore taking pictures and selfies. Now, coming from the iPhone 16 Pro, there are some things that are noticeable, like the thicker bezels and the notch. But honestly, after using it for 10 minutes, I don't even notice them at all. But what I do notice is how much lighter the 16e is in my hands. When I'm at home, I would just grab it and start using it because I know my wrist doesn't strain as fast when I start doom scrolling for 30 minutes on my bed. I don't notice any speed differences, like the performance is already good enough. So as I'm watching videos, browsing through the web, and scrolling through social media, the day-to-day experience is really not that different. Well, what about MagSafe? I bought a cheap $15 case that's MagSafe compatible, and I can use all the accessories I already have. So that part is a very easy fix. Now, for most of us who already owns the flagship models, you don't need to buy the iPhone 16e, unless maybe you need a backup iPhone for emergencies or for traveling. But how I see it is the iPhone 16e is for the ones outside of that range, the elderly and the young. My dad is still using the iPhone 11, and when he upgrades, it's gonna be the iPhone 16e. You already know our parents don't like change and they don't want to learn something new. So for him, getting the iPhone 16e feels like nothing changed. Well, maybe besides a faster phone. And for the parents getting their kids their first iPhone, they know this phone will last for 3 to 5 years, given that they take care of their phone. On top of that, it is a cheap way for them to enter the Apple ecosystem. So obviously, slowly they would get the AirPods, the iPad, and even the MacBooks. And by the time they would upgrade their phone, they would most likely want a flagship model. So in the long run, it saves me or the parents more money by buying the cheapest iPhone Apple offers. Since most likely you have that flagship phone, you want the family to be in the same ecosystem as you. So buying this phone for your parents or your kids makes a lot of sense, but maybe not your siblings that are like a 2-year difference, because obviously they would definitely want the flagship model. You can also argue that you can buy last year's model, and yes, you can do that, but I know my dad wouldn't ever use the camera, so I don't see the reason to get him more features when they won't be used. Also, I can go into the store tomorrow, buy the phone, and get it all set up. I know there are a lot of mixed opinions about the iPhone 16e, especially when you're coming from owning a flagship model. But again, the iPhone 16e is not for people like me or most likely you watching this. I think this is perfect for our parents and kids. So let me know what you think about this phone. Would you ever buy one yourself, or who would you think this phone is for? Thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.